Yeah.
You're a fucking asshole for this one.
Shenandoah, baby.
That's why I chose this one. I knew it would piss Eric off a lot.
Well, we mentioned this one on another episode. I can't remember. I think it was like our fall color episode. Yeah, we just mentioned it really quickly. It was like a small little thumbnail in the corner because we were talking about it. Got brought up in the conversation.
I can remember this one. This is about three years ago, I guess, in the fall, obviously. So this would be like mid-October. This is Shenandoah National Park. This is a trail that I hike a lot. In fact, I had never photographed this location in the fall before. I've always done photography up here in the spring because you have all these bracken ferns that sit on the forest floor, and they're fucking gorgeous in the spring. I mean, they're really lush and they're big. But I had been up there. I went up there for just a day because I was looking at the forecast and it was showing that there's going to be a really low cloud bank, and I thought there might be fog up in the forest. So I went up there and I hiked along this trail, and I was just kind of blown away when I got up there because it was just like perfect conditions. Like the ferns were still intact, but they had changed. They were all sort of like that sort of crimson, like reddish, rust.
Very
color.
full, but yeah, that colorful red that
still.
you get.
Yeah, in a couple of days they would completely dry up and be gone. You know what I mean? So like I was just the right place at the right time. And then obviously one of the reasons I like to shoot this location is because of the lichen that grow on the trees here. So this is all like south facing trees. So they're in the shade a lot more. So they get a lot of that lichen growth. If
that like minty green with the red is insane. So nice.
Yeah. That's so trippy.
Fog bank back there that kind of breaks up the forest. If you shoot this on a day without fog, it's completely impossible to get a good composition.
Yeah, just too full, no separation.
No separation. It's chaotic, and the forest just kind of becomes a big mess in the background. So you need that fog to make it work,
Yeah. And I love that branch on like the left third, that tree with the branch that has the orange leaves on it, like to tie into the foreground, like the red ferns in the bottom. The forest.
Hey, I'm gonna go smoke a cigarette, you guys. I'll be right back. All right. Figure it out. This thing's fucking money. I love it, dude. This is such a good shot.
I've only seen the ferns look like that once, and I didn't have a camera with me, but you found it, and it's just so good.
I've tried to go back to the spot for the last two falls, and it's not looked like that. So I think I was
I was going to ask that because like sometimes forest scenes are deceptive because like you'll see a forest scene that somebody photographed really well and you'll be like, oh, they just found like, the perfect patch of forest. Like, it kind of got handed to them, but that's deceptive because really like they just organized it in a way that makes it look that way. So like, was this easy to shoot or was it actually kind of tricky that day to still figure it out, even though you had like ideas?
It was really hard to shoot this scene actually.
Yeah.
Because the forest there is not very uniform. Like a lot of eastern forests are very, in my opinion, they're very difficult to photograph because, like unlike western forests, like with aspens, for example, that grow very uniformly, the eastern forest does not. It has a lot of different tree species that mix in and they don't all look the same. They're not all straight, whatever. It was a very difficult scene to shoot. I spent probably, 4 or 5 hours working this general area that particular morning. The fog stuck around for a very long time. So I had a lot of different compositions. This one just happened to be, I think I only shared maybe 1 or 2 images from that morning because I felt like the other ones were just not, they just didn't really come together the way that I wanted them to. They were a little too chaotic in the background. This was the perfect mixture when I shot this. I found the shot. The fog came in very, very nicely. It was thick enough that it kind of softened the background, but it wasn't so thick that it obscured all of the trees in the background. So it was definitely a process. I spent a lot of time working this particular area of forest up in Shenandoah.
What I really like too is it's asymmetrical, but it feels very balanced still. A lot of people think you need like perfect symmetry to have like nice balance, but this one is asymmetrical because you have like more space on the left side. than you do on the right side with like the last tree closest to the edge. And then you have that one branch on the left third with the leaves. That's, you know, you don't have that on the right side, but it still just feels very stable.
I think that like symmetry is obviously a thing that we all strive for, like in compositions, but it's such a rare thing to experience in nature.
Yes, it feels very inorganic.
Doesn't happen very often, right? Where you find a scene that's like completely perfectly symmetrical. So you got to try to find a balance with that somehow. And I think it does a lot of justice to the landscape to show the sort of almost imperfections in a beautiful kind of a way, you know?
Well, I think it balances out because you have kind of, you have more space on the left side, like the trees are more spaced apart, but then on the right side, they're more clumped together. So like, you know, those two things offset one another. And so even though it's not symmetrical, it still balances out nicely. And so,
right.
Well, plus I think like the way that this is composed, when you first look at it, it's so engaging. The way the trees are arranged, it pulls you in. Like it's like immediately like you want to go into this photo. So even if there is some kind of like the symmetry isn't exact, like that's not what struck me about this image. Like I kind of stepped back and I was like, oh yeah, there's definitely a symmetrical aspect, but it was really just such an engaging image. It just, you know, kind of pulls you through it the way that you have it composed. I think that's the dominant element of the composition and why I think it's so well composed.
Pulls your pants down.
Really does.
It does. Come to
It's another
daddy.
cigarette for the fall.
Fuck yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it's amazing, man.
Loved it.
This was last year. I think you,
No, this was probably 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe.
but you didn't share it until like last fall or maybe early this year. It wasn't that long ago.
Sat on it for a while, yeah.
Joe slow played that shit.
Yeah. The long game.
I fucking love it.